Welcome to the webinar. We are excited to have you here as part of the Pathlock Innovation Series today. Our session right now is Managing Application Access Risk with Pathlock and Microsoft Entra. We're excited to have speakers from Protiviti, Microsoft, and Pathlock with us here today. Spirou, Keri, Bowman, and Joe Marcum will introduce themselves in just a moment.
Stephen, do you want to start with a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Spirou. I'm a senior product manager in Microsoft Security Customer Experience Engineering. I focus on our identity governance solutions, among others.
Yep. Thanks, Steve. I'm Joe Marcum. I'm a director with Protiviti. I'm part of our information security and specifically our Microsoft solution development delivery team. And I have a focus on Microsoft identity solutions.
Thanks, Joe. And my name is Keri Bowman. I'm a senior director with Pathlock, and my focus is access risk analysis and access security for applications. So with that, we will jump right in, and I will hand it over.
Thanks, Keri. So let's talk about cybersecurity by the numbers. In IBM's 2022 Cost of a Data Breach report, they found that even with all of our advances in cybersecurity tools and capabilities, the average time to identify a data breach was 243 days and an additional 84 days to contain and recover from it. While there are many drivers for this, one of the primary points of interest is that the cause of a breach is often related to an identity attack. Now, we can save up to 74 days of detect and response time by leveraging automation and AI. And these are significant improvements, and they reduce the overall cost of the impacted organization, and in some cases by millions of dollars. Automation is where we're moving to for cybersecurity defense, and our teams and practitioners are simply not fast enough to manage detect and response from adversaries without leveraging automation. And this is where leveraging automation through identity and access management solutions can significantly reduce our risk of an identity attack. Keri, can you go to the next slide? All right, so breach statistics. Quickly on this slide, there are a lot of, they're basically the data breach statistics from 2022. And if you look at the heat map, what we will see is identity attacks throughout. We see phishing, stolen credentials, compromised emails, social engineering in all of its forms, and malicious insiders, which typically leverage identity attacks as part of their essentially their attack path. Next slide. So the demand we see in the market today is from clients with two primary goals. One is to simplify their identity architecture with a significant focus on streamlining on-premise environments and maturing utilization of cloud identity solutions like Microsoft Entra. Two, they want to leverage additional automation for user provisioning and governance to drive security and meet compliance requirements, and automation to apply segregation of duties and to identify identity attacks. Clients today have complex legacy operating environments based on mergers and acquisitions and a mix of cloud and on-prem resources like apps and file shares. However, almost every client we speak with is moving to a cloud-first approach. They already have a significant cloud footprint and are looking to better leverage identity capabilities to meet their objectives. So let's talk about identity as a business enabler. So if you go to the next slide, Keri. Right, so organizations today are looking to modernize and improve their identity programs. We have a lot of clients looking to implement automation for user provisioning of birthright entitlements, and they want integration with HR systems of record like Workday and SuccessFactors to help automate user onboarding and support join, remove, or leaver for access to things like M365 apps, email, and other enterprise applications. They want to integrate more enterprise applications for role-based provisioning and are looking to leverage solutions like Pathlock and Microsoft Entra to support that goal. Now, at Protiviti, we understand native integration, business rules, and authentication and compliance requirements, and we support our clients by leveraging these tools to meet those objectives. We implement these capabilities for clients today by integrating clients' on-prem AD, intra-ID, their HR systems, all to support automation that increases efficiency and effectiveness, meet their compliance requirements, and supports overall improved security. Clients want to streamline their identity solutions by replacing multiple authentication providers and improve user experiences through things like single sign-on and MFA. And when an organization is looking to implement a new ERP system, that's a great time to think about leveraging modern comprehensive identity and access management solutions, which support things like risk management by increasing visibility of system access and identifying areas for improvement, and reducing risks through establishing controls and monitoring processes. Solutions can help with financial effectiveness by reducing administration costs, reducing costs of integrating systems, and helping integration with acquired companies. It also provides competitive advantages by increasing employee productivity, better collaboration with customers, partners, and suppliers, and increasing customer confidence. And lastly, I'd like to point out regulatory compliance. So clients today are looking to meet compliance requirements for SOX and HIPAA and PCI. There's a plethora of data privacy regulations that they need to comply with that all lead to challenges with effectively managing data. And identity helps manage our security of our data by managing access to our data. Next slide, Keri. So let me take a look here. Basically, this is the Protiviti identity and access management framework. And we have a well-defined and mature identity framework that includes identity sources, enabling technologies, all the way through to accessing resources and infrastructure, including endpoints and data. We consider identity as the center for enabling the business, and our identity framework guides how we help clients leverage identity to support implementing zero trust architecture, using capabilities like Microsoft Entra and Pathlock. When our clients ask for solutions to common identity problems, we've referenced this document to demonstrate how Microsoft and Pathlock can be used to solve these challenges, especially in areas such as application integration, automation, authentication through single sign-on MFA, and automation of user provisioning processes, managing SMD risk, both within an application and across applications. So to talk a little bit more about how Entra can help support those goals and objectives, Steve is going to tell you a little bit more about Entra.
Thank you. So a year ago, when we announced the Microsoft Entra product family, we asked what the world could achieve if we had trust in every digital experience and interaction. The question inspired us to offer a vision for securing the millions and millions of connections that happen every second between people, machines, apps, and devices that access and share data. To help organizations protect their ever-evolving digital estates, we've been expanding beyond managing directories and authenticating users to securing and governing access for any identity to any app or resource. This end-to-end approach is based on zero trust principles, informed by world-class threat intelligence and augmented by industry-leading AI capabilities, which analyze more than 65 trillion threat signals each day. This is all to give you a unified experience and make it easier for you to protect your entire digital identities. The Microsoft Entra product family provides every organization with complete repertoire of tools to secure any identity and any access point, so that all your people, digital identities, and assets can establish trust in real time, enabling everyone to collaborate and innovate fearlessly. Keri, if you could move to the next slide. Thank you. So Microsoft Entra ID governance, as you saw on the previous slide, is a complete identity governance solution encompassing scenarios that organizations experience every day. It enables users to get access to the apps and resources they need in order to be productive when they need that access, and it enables the organization to follow the principles of least privilege access. In the interest of time, I won't clear the slide of all these scenarios, but I'm going to highlight workflow and automation. A prime example of these are when employees join or leave the organization. Microsoft Entra ID governance provides customizable templates that let you automatically provision just the right app access, Teams membership, SharePoint permissions, and other access, so that new users are productive on day one. And these templates automatically revoke that access, remove licenses, and log all activities for review, and provide potential remediation on their last day or when they leave the organization. Entitlement management and access requests help you manage the identity and resource access lifecycle at scale by automating access request workflows access assignments, reviews, and expiration. Access certification, or access reviews as we call them at Microsoft, ensures that users or guests have appropriate access and that they still need it based on automated insights. Depending on your organization's policies, these certifications can be set up as self-assessments or via assigned reviewers. Pathlock, through their integration with Microsoft Entra ID governance, extends this entitlement management capability to provide fine-grained provisioning and granular separation of duties checks deep into your business applications. With that, I'll move to the next slide. So Keri, I don't know if you want to introduce.
Yes, absolutely. So a quick introduction to Pathlock for those who may be unfamiliar. So Pathlock is a market leader in application governance, risk, and compliance. This is our specialty. So, we do, for example, have teams of certified auditors that are on our solutions teams that help to build out our risk and compliance approaches. So we provide a comprehensive suite of capabilities. This includes application access governance, so things like your risk rule sets, the ability to run SOD and sensitive access checks across various applications, the ability to do compliant provisioning with those rule sets, certifications with risk in mind, elevated access management, again with risk in mind and sensitive access in mind, continuous controls monitoring. So how do you quantify the risks that may be present in your applications? You know that someone can create and pay vendors. Are you aware of how much they can do that for? And the ability to continuously monitor the controls that are applied to manage and monitor your risks. And then cybersecurity application controls. So how do you handle things like transport management or ABAC or dynamic data masking, items of that nature. So all of these are capabilities that we have as a company, and our goal is to help customers and companies to manage their risk in a compliant manner, but also in an efficient and effective manner that helps them to move through their processes successfully when it comes to audit and compliance. And so I always like to say, don't just take it from me. We have actually been named as a leader in 2 different prestigious industry reports from Cup&Ger Cole, both specifically for SAP as well as for multi-vendor line of business environments. So you can see we rank at the top for both of these due to our extensive capabilities in risk and compliance management. And so just to expand a little bit on what Joe and Seymour were both talking about in terms of what Microsoft Entra can do for you and how Pathlock can extend those capabilities. I love using that word extend, right? Because it really hits on the key here, which is the fact that Microsoft Entra is providing so many capabilities to customers in how they manage their access. And Pathlock's goal is really to take that and to extend and bring that further with the lens of risk and compliance. So when we think about that better together story and how we can help our customers to get more out of their installations and out of their use of these tools, we kind of break it down into the 4 pieces that you see here. So the first thing is entitlement templates. So the authoritative centralized identities, right? So entitlement templates are their business-oriented collections of cross-application entitlements. So if you think about your application landscape and what you want users to have access to, it's a lot easier if we can collect those entitlements into these business-oriented collections. So think of something like job roles, right? I am an accounting clerk. What is the collection of access that I may need to be provisioned across various applications? If I can identify that and collect it into one, it's going to significantly simplify my joiner, mover, and leaver as my users come on and as they change job positions. It's going to make it a lot easier for me as a security or application manager to ensure they get the proper access because I've collected it into those authoritative and centralized entitlement templates. And then what does Pathlock do in regards to that? Well, Pathlock, because we are risk and compliance focused, we have risk rule sets for multiple applications, and we integrate seamlessly with Microsoft to analyze those packages that you've created so that we can assess if there are any risk conflicts that are involved in those. And we can actually help you to ensure that as you're building those collections, those templates, that you're taking risk into account and aware of any risk that you may be building into access for your users. So it's that concept of what we're calling compliant account management. So Microsoft is going to ensure you have authoritative centralized identities, you have centralized entitlement templates, and we're going to help you to look at it from a risk perspective and identify if you're providing any risk to your users with those collections of access. Then the next step that we look at are identities. So who are the users that are accessing the system, having that singular identity for them. So regardless of the account names they may have across various applications, we want that centralized identity, and we want that centralized governance access package assigned to them. It really simplifies the way that we manage users. And then how, again, Pathlock is feeding into that is that we are able to analyze that risk, determine what's present there, and to call out, to go back a step, the compliant account management does also include those workflows, right? So ensuring you're gaining proper approvals prior to provisioning access, and that feeds into this identities piece. So as you're moving through those approvals, so that workflow for users gaining their access, when you go onto the governance access packages and assigning them, and you're seeing the risk that's involved there, those compliant workflows, what they'll allow you to do is to move those approvals to the various steps you need. For example, if you're assigning a governance access package to someone that does not incur any risks, you may only want to route that to a manager or an application owner for review. But if as part of that assignment of governance access packages, when Pathlock looks at it and identifies that there are risks involved, you may want to route that additionally to a risk owner or maybe a compliance team member for additional review. And that's going to help ensure that people are aware of that risk before provisioning that access out to the system. So we like to call that compliant provisioning, and that's exactly what the next step is there, which is provisioning, right? So again, we start with entitlement templates. So, you know, who are the identities? What are the groupings of those identities? We start to look at the access packages. How do we collectively assign access to users? And are we aware of the risks? And then the provisioning piece. So as Microsoft can go out and provision to all of these extensive applications, again, we want to look at that compliant provisioning aspect. So are we aware of the risk being incurred? Are we gaining all of the appropriate approvals? Are we applying controls? We can manage the controls as well. I mentioned the various capabilities of Pathlock includes control management and risk mitigation. So as we're going out and provisioning, we want to ensure that prior to that, we're addressing the risk. In the audit space, right, we like to call that zero unmitigated risks. What it's doing is ensuring that we're not introducing risk into our environment without being aware of it and managing it in a compliant manner. So mitigating controls are a way to do that. It allows us to acknowledge that the risk is present for the user. It's required as part of their business job responsibilities. And we are saying we have a control available for that. And that control is going to ensure, for example, we're running reports or we're actively monitoring that risk for the user so that nothing is done inappropriately. So that's the provisioning piece of things. And also as part of that, the on-prem agent extending that provisioning into additional applications, this goes back to the power of the Better Together story. Microsoft's ability to extend to so many applications and Pathlock's ability to have risk and compliance related rule sets for that same breadth of applications really allows you to manage the entirety of your landscape for your applications, but with a risk and compliance mindset for those. And then the last step that we see here, the governance access reviews. This goes back to, if we think about the concept of get clean, stay clean, optimize. Getting clean is ensuring we've developed the access that we're granting and we've monitored our users for risks that they have in the environment today. Stay clean is this compliant provisioning. We're not introducing net new risk into the environment without being made aware of it. And that optimize is ensuring that on an ongoing basis, we're continuing to review our system, make sure it's running as efficiently and effectively as possible, following least privileged access models, ensuring that users have access to do what they need and nothing additional. And access reviews are such a pivotal part of that, because as we all know, one of our biggest things as security personnel are ensuring that as users move or change job responsibilities, that we are reactive to that. We're ensuring they get what they need as soon as possible so that the business can operate effectively. As that happens, though, we all know people back others up. They temporarily perform other job responsibilities, maybe as they're transitioning. So we're very good at granting them access, but how do we ensure that when that access is no longer needed, that we go ahead and revoke that in a timely manner? Access reviews are a fantastic way to do this. And so what Microsoft allows us to do is to review and verify that those correct assignment packages are made to users and that they're still applicable. Do these users still need that access? Microsoft can manage that for us. And what Pathlock does is, again, layering in risk into this recertification process. So as you're reviewing those packages, it may have been a while since it was first provisioned to the user, or maybe the owner of that, that package has changed. And so they're reviewing the users in their group for the first time. What's really important is that we give them the whole perspective of that access that the user has been allowed. And part of that is risk. Is that access package granting the user access to any risks? And if so, we want them to be made aware of that while they're recertifying it. So again, Microsoft is really coming with the powerful combination of centralized identities, governance packages, and governance access reviews. And in each of those layers, Pathlock is adding on and extending those capabilities with the risk and compliance mindset. And so, you know, what does this all mean to you at the end of the day? Well, Protiviti is also a Pathlock partner. We are partners with Microsoft. And that means for you as a customer, from start to finish, you have teams that work together. You have teams that are on the same page, and they are all working to implement for you a process, a product that is going to ensure that you can accomplish what you need to do in an effective and efficient way that's also going to be compliant. And as part of that partnership, Microsoft and Pathlock continue to work hand in hand to extend these additional capabilities. I've covered for you what we do today, and we will continue to work together to offer more to everyone in terms of, you know, the best identity TCO, the best identity offering for compliant management. And so that's really our goal for you. And with that, I am going to hand it over to Q&A. So Stephanie, if we have any questions, I want to make sure I give plenty of time for us to jump into those.
Great. And I just want to reiterate that if you have any questions, please add them to the questions box right now, and we would be happy to answer any of those. Our first question is, I have on-prem apps in addition to cloud apps. Can I integrate all of them, or are there limitations?
Stephen, do you maybe want to take that one?
Let's find my mute button. So, so the question was, I have on-prem apps in addition to cloud apps, and can I integrate all of them, or are there limitations? I would say you're not restricted to cloud apps only. There are ways to reach and provision to cloud apps as well as on-premises applications. The way we've been doing the integration and extending Microsoft Entra, with Pathlock capabilities, does open up to a lot of choice. There's capabilities on both sides that can be leveraged to address different applications. In some cases, Microsoft may provide connectors, provisioning capabilities, and Pathlock also has rich connector library for many applications, as well as a connector framework to reach other applications. So I think you do have multiple options. So the short answer is no. I don't believe you're limited based on whether an app is in the cloud or on premises or at a hoster.
Yeah, let me maybe add to that as well, Steve. So Microsoft has over 300 different application integrations available today for Entra ID. In addition to that, Microsoft supports the standard application integration options such as SCIM, SOAP, LDAP, PS, and SQL. So you've got a lot of different options there. You've got a lot of applications that already have an integration available. In addition, you have these standardized ways to integrate with applications. On top of that, you combine that with Microsoft Logic apps and other capabilities that can really drive a lot of automated workflows to allow you to do some very powerful things with application integration. So for example, Logic apps can help you integrate directly with ServiceNow so that when you have the user provisioning processes within Entra, you can then hand that process off to ServiceNow from a ticketing perspective, let's say, for those fine-grained access that you might need to apply based on maybe a help desk support ticket. So there's a lot of capability and a lot of power by combining some of these different.
Okay, great. Our next question is, what are the typical business use cases that can be accomplished using this solution?
So I know Keri spoke a lot about the business use cases, and I know I kind of started with some of that, but some of the typical use cases that we see, a lot of clients today still have manual processes for user provisioning, whether that's your standard birthright entitlements, so it's really right when somebody starts working at the organization, all the way to applying different access, user access reviews and other controls. A lot of that may be a very manual process today. So what we see right now is a lot of organizations trying to leverage tools like Microsoft Entra ID to automate some of those manual processes in an effective and efficient way.
Perfect. Okay, our next question is, with the integration between Pathlock and Entra, am I limited in the applications I can check for SOD risks?
So I can start, and then Joyce, even if either of you want to add to that, you're not limited, right? Pathlock absolutely has a significant amount of out-of-the-box content for you. So out-of-the-box risk rule sets for multiple applications, controls, things like that. So we can absolutely help you get a running start on a significant number of applications for your SOD and sensitive access risks. If there are other applications that we don't have out-of-the-box content for, it can absolutely be built and integrated into the Pathlock rule sets so that we can extend that risk check for you into additional applications.
And maybe, Keri, you can also maybe add the cross-application SOD capabilities of Pathlock as well, which is really very powerful, right? So you've got the fine-grained SOD capabilities within an application, and then you can apply that across applications, right?
Absolutely, thank you. That's such a great call out. I didn't mention that at all, but yes, cross-application is one of the strongest stories. If you look at Pathlock's history, that's actually what we're known for and built on, is not just breadth and depth of applications that we can do risk reporting for and risk management for, but because we can do so many applications for SOD reporting, we can do that cross app as well. Because if you can run risks in multiple single applications, you can run the risk reporting across those applications. Because again, as mentioned, we have the connectors with the depth and the ability to pull in that detailed fine-grained data. So yes, any application that you want to run single risk reporting on, we can. And if you want to run cross-application risk reporting, we can absolutely do that for you. And that's a great call out and question, because that is definitely becoming more prevalent, especially as we see cloud apps becoming significantly more a part of every company's approach the hybrid on-prem and cloud, and then the expansion of cloud apps. I think the last report I saw, the average company has 36 cloud apps, something like that. So we know that, there's a significant amount there that we want to monitor for risks. So yeah, great question.
It looks like we have one more question here. What do I require on the Microsoft Entra side to enable this integration? And what is the difference between having Microsoft Entra ID Premium 2 entitlements versus Microsoft Entra ID governance?
Yeah, I'll take that. So I'm actually glad people asked, because it can be quite confusing. So just to go back, around June, July, I think July, we announced rebranding. So just to clarify, what was before known as Azure Active Directory, we've now rebranded as Microsoft Entra ID, just so that there's no confusion. The slide I showed up before showed like the current portfolio of Microsoft Entra products, but specifically I wanted to talk to to that question. What is the difference between what was Azure AD or now Microsoft Entra ID Premium 2 identity governance and Microsoft Entra ID governance? So we've had for a number of years now some converged identity governance capability inside of what was Azure Active Directory, now Entra ID, and there were the likes of entitlements and access reviews, which are very topical to this integration. If you have that today, I mean, you do have that capability. We kind of referring to it now as like basic entitlements. We have that capability. However, if what we are doing going forward is developing our new capabilities, the new automation, the AI infusion into the new product, we found enough of a need from our customers to warrant investing further in identity governance. So we have actually positioned it as an add-on. Now, what that means in terms of what you need is for the ideal capability and integration with Pathlock, we would recommend having Microsoft Entra ID governance. That enables us to do more advanced things like having triggers in our entitlements, in our access packages. So if there is activity in an access package, immediately can trigger a logic app, and that can enable Pathlock to actually make informed decisions, provide insights, so we can have a more of a real-time experience. Because what we do want to do is not expose the organization to risk if possible. So doing things in real time reduces the exposure. If there is, for example, a conflict in separation of duties between or conflicting roles and responsibilities. If the other benefit from the Microsoft side is that Microsoft Entra ID governance is an add-on. It can be applied to any customer running Microsoft Entra ID at either Premium 1 or Premium 2 level. And currently, we are offering promotions for customers that are already invested in Premium 2, to add on at a discounted price. If a customer is running the Premium 2 identity governance features, you still have a basic entitlement management capability with the Graph API that Pathlock can then make use of Graph API. However, there's no triggers, which means that it would have to be scheduled or invoked, and it would be like a retroactive inspection. And it would be something that Pathlock would need to go connect to the Microsoft Entra Graph APIs in order to go and check access packages. So they're able to do some of the things they could do in the full solution, in the full integration, like provision compliance packages, access packages, based on like roles within the business applications. But it would not be in real time, and it would be retroactive, which means there is a period of time at which the organization is exposed to risk. So ideally, we would recommend going with the combination of Microsoft Entra ID governance and Pathlock together. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for right now, but I just wanted to encourage you, if you do have any more questions, you can reach out to us at info@pathlock.com and we'd be happy to answer any of those. I believe on the next slide, we also have some other people you can reach out to. You can reach out to Shep Park, and his email's here, or Veronica Salazar. She's our partner manager, and they can answer any of your questions about this as well. I just wanted to point out that we have more sessions coming up today. Our next session is how to enhance your monitoring capabilities while hosting PeopleSoft in the cloud. If you would like to register for that, I put the link in the chat. We also have several more sessions coming up today, so I put the agenda and the link to the agenda in the chat as well. So I encourage you to go register for any of those. And I just wanted to thank our speakers for presenting and everyone for attending, and we hope to see you at more sessions.